Yes. Now we're going to the third chapter, Lloque Yupanque, the third Inca of the sorcerer. The sorcerer, in other words, a shaman. And again, with this Inca, it's also sort of the first 7 Incas, more or less, they were mythic personalities in which you have to really twist around the history to come out with some idea of who he was. The best I can come up, because he had visions, he was told by Manco Cápac to do certain things, and he believed a lot in sorcery. That is one of the main also habits of the Incas, and it still is. We still have people from different parts of the world who come to Peru, to the northeast of Peru, Celandine, where they actually meet with the sorcerers. Many movie actresses or actors from United States, they come to this area. There's one written by one of the actors who writes the whole history of the shamans, and she is quite a believer of that. So, and as I say in the book, as you're gonna hear, it's amazing that we're known for our sorcerers, enough our vicissitudes of the past or of the present. So that's the basic idea of this, and I'm gonna read to you this Inca, and I hope you don't get lost like I did myself. Then we have the third chapter, Lloque Yupanque, the third Inca or the sorcerer. So, Lloque Yupanque, the left-handed, it is said that you had clemency for the vanquished, and ruthless if they oppose you. Kuntursoul, we exist to dominate and impose our belief over others. Inca, your words are familiar in the annals of mankind. It remains to be seen how far we will go in fulfilling that mandate. Do I sense that my thinking is not agreeable with you? Knowing what happened to us, I intuitively would like to see a reversal of the wrongdoings of the past. However, that is impossible, for the past has already happened, and no one can turn back. Nevertheless, in my times there are theories that this can physically be possible. Man of the future, we practice the occult arts by reversing the past. That is absurd. Inca, the mind of the human species is constantly extending to unknown horizons. It seems that whatever we think is because it has already happened. Could it be that once we existed in other worlds and we're simply recreating our primordial past, making it possible for it to happen as time and science advances? Man of the times, has it ever occurred to you that perhaps we were not interested in our past, and why we didn't invent a better way to record our history? The future was more important to us, and why we had shamans to predict what was to come. It is my understanding that you elevated the practice of sorcery to a higher status, and the wizards became valuable allies in the government. I had my reasons. They prognosticated that I should proceed with the plans of expansion. Inca, it would be of interest to know that people from other parts of the world make pilgrimage to the northeast of Peru, where the sorcerers are still practicing their trade. It is ironic that we are known for our modern shamans, while in humanity is oblivious of our vicissitudes. That tells you that the unknown is what matters the most in our lives. Maybe it does, and why in your times any defect of the body signified a bad omen, and they try to correct your left-handed preference. They did try, and you can call me Lefty. It would not be proper to call you by that surname. In my In some countries, like the one that adopted me, its people are sensitive to anyone with physical handicap. Although being left-handed is not, laws are written to protect the disabled. I will address you as lefty in a casual conversation, but not to denigrate you. That nation that accepted you must be inherently good, or have leaders who have not failed to their citizens. No Inca, they are the accumulation of different peoples of the world who have taken upon themselves to respect each other. Although it took a civil war and the continuous passing of laws to accomplish that most difficult task of asserting everyone's rights. How do they maintain that state of mutual respect? By using the only tool known to man for that purpose, democracy, a thought so frail that we guard this ancient idea with a profound sense of responsibility, for we all seem to be programmed to oppose this concept. Are you telling me that we did not have the right type of government, and the cause we fought for were in vain? No, Lloque. The Inca started with their own form of governing, isolated from the men of antiquity who conceived this idea. If the Incas had not been truncated in the development of the political system, they probably would have eventually governed with a similar concept. For democracy is a state of the mind that comes with the wisdom of the ages, and if suddenly elevated to its perfect state, it could create anarchism. Presumably, we would do as we pleased and cause chaos in our world. By the same token, democracy sometimes can be used to hide the ills of the majority if there are no checks and balances by either one. And one must remain constantly aware of leaders or nations who are democratic in name, but they are far from being one. We can continue with this discussion while we inspect the surroundings of the Valley of Cusco, and you will see why we need to entice all the communities to our way of life. Why are you intent in bringing them together? Because we need to consolidate the valley if we're ever going to become an empire. These lands are so vast in the faraway places, people living in a state of barbarism. After a few months, the Inca led for the southern region, a nation of powerful lords who eventually submitted to the will of the Incas. Kuntursoul, I hope you understand that a prudent Inca lord will always try to avoid confrontations. Perhaps the Incas were pacifists at the beginning. At the end of the empire, they were not. Then we fought all the time? Yes, but those were wars among yourselves. When foreign invaders came to your land, they almost annihilated the Incas, and their progeny are still humiliating your descendants. That is why we must expose our predicament to the world court. And hopefully the men of justice will understand what happened and it's happened to the Indians. You actually have a purpose in visiting our past. I thought you only came to reveal our faults. Lloque, I wish you knew how great is my desire to end the misery of our Indians, brothers, and the only way to plead for that impossible task is by reaching to your souls. For people who do not have a sense of their past will never have a vision for their future. After some years, Lloque returned to Cusco. His brother Manco Zacapa seemed to be worried because the Inca was reaching old age and he still had no legitimate heir. Although he had multiple children with his concubines, Manco Zacapa, if that were to happen, wouldn't that make you the next in line for the throne? You were the firstborn of Sinchiroca. Yes, but I'm not the son of his sister. Therefore, I have no rights to the throne. Lloque Yupanque has no full sister to continue with his lineage. He has known we have to find partner, preferably the daughter of a powerful lord. Pachachuya knows of one who has a beautiful daughter. Both approached the Inca, and they brought the subject to him. To their disbelief, his succession was very much in his mind. He told them to procure him a wife acceptable for his investiture. With this mandate, they left it in direction of the great lord of Oma. The emissaries explained to him the purpose of their visit. He responded aloud, "Nothing would please me more than to have her marry the son of the sun." As word of the celebration spread, nobles from distant places came to pay their respects to the Inca and partake in the great bacchanal, the best way for the young empire to attract willing and unwilling allies. The wedding took place, and the Inca proceeded with his plans of expansion. Manco Zapaca, I understand that there are more powerful kingdoms by the shores of Lake Titicaca. We should go again to the south. Inca Lord, that is the land of the Hatun Collas and the Chucuitos, the most obstinate warriors of the region. Lloque Yupanque left on his second expedition. Once there, the Collas decided not to resist. The Incas meant well, and they joined them in peace. Lloque Yupanque gave them lavish presents, which surprised the Collas with their generosity. The festivities over, the new vassals were told to get rid of their idols that the Inca considered gruesome, and keep the effigy of a white llama because their livelihoods depended on these animals. The Collas also believed that their ancestors came from the Great Lake. In reverence, they did not eat fish, and this was not altered. The Inca ordered that a temple of the sun be constructed, and he returned to Cusco. Sometime after, he continued with another expedition to Chucuito as he had planned. Traveling in the wastelands, Lloque seemed pensive. Kuntursoul, tell me what was happening in the old world during my expeditions. Inca, many historical events were taking place at the time that you Incas were forming an empire, around 1250. Spain, a country of the old world, was trying to get rid of its conquerors, the Moors, who occupied their lands for centuries. Man of the future, after such a lengthy occupation, any conquered nation would have given up all hopes of liberation. Yes, Inca, but the human spirit is such that the burning desire to be free is present in all of us. For that to happen, the people in chains must have a cinder of hope to ignite that yearning for liberty. You mean to say that incandescent desire for freedom is not glowing in the heart of my descendants? Inca, there is no event in the history of mankind in which the world is witnessing the degradation of the human spirit while we're still in our own flesh. Man of the future, there must be other races in similar situations. Yes, there is a group of people, the heroes, who were removed from their lands and enslaved for 2,000 years, yet in spite of centuries of bondage. In every one of them there was that cinder of hope, that even in the throes of death, they died knowing that they had fought a battle with themselves to never give up that longing for a homeland. What happened to them? Are they still subjugated? No, Inca. They are no longer enthralled. In my times, I have witnessed the recovery of their promised land, and they are now a powerful nation partaking in world affairs. What is so different about these people of the old world and the natives of the new world? Why are those ancient people able to liberate themselves after such a long time? I am beginning to understand that they, as a race, have struggled to be accepted by humanity. But more important yet, they accept each other, and any offense to one of their own is an affront to all, because they do not deny their heritage, unlike the mestizos and Indians who detest what they were and are. Why aren't we united like they are, and perhaps regain our dignity, if not our possessions? Oh, Inca, that is why we must enlighten ourselves in this dilemma that beseech us. As I continue on this journey, I look at the inaccessible mountains of the white peaks and see the futility of my desires. Kuntursoul, are you hallucinating? Keep telling me of that faraway world. Oh yes, as I was about to say, the Arabs crossed from the African continent to Europe, landing first in Spain. Why didn't the Moors come instead to our shores? Maybe we could have had a better fate with them. They did not, because the New World was not yet discovered. Nevertheless, if they had come to our lands, it would not have been different. The Arabs also discriminate the Indians, just as the rest of humanity does. So losing one's freedom to anyone is the same. What happened to the Spaniards when the Moors were in their lands? During their occupation, great heroic events led by men like the legendary warlord El Cid were taking place in the quest to regain their freedom. In the end, the Moors were fighting among each other, losing their hold of Spain. Were the Arabs fighting their own civil wars in a land that was not theirs? There is the irony, and as the Spanish chronicler Miguel Cabello de Balboa writes, the Moors had no right to the land of the Spaniards, let alone to fight among themselves in someone else's nation. How true a statement, for that is exactly what the Spaniards were doing in our lands once we were conquered. Our people joined and fought on their opposing sides and were still fighting on behalf of foreign interests. Kuntursoul, that is understandable among different nations and races, but it's disturbing that we were and are against our own blood. I wonder that is inherent in us as people of the Andes. Inca, very, very difficult to determine. The fact is that with the arrival of the invaders, we have always favored other races rather than ours. Kuntursoul, you are bringing to light unwelcome thought. Perhaps these questions will be answered as you travel with the other Incas. For now, I am interested in that legendary warrior Cid. Oh, that warlord was and still is greatly admired. He was fair to foe and friend and respected by both. His life and deeds have been passed on in chants and poems that elevate the soul of those who read or listen to them. He was loyal to his king in spite of being exiled from his beloved Burgos. His homeland was the campgrounds on the battlefields, and why he was called El Cid Campeador, like you, who's camping and trying to unite the collas, while your real enemies are in Cusco planning your downfall. I wouldn't go that far in these comparisons. I was just exploring and not getting rid of oppressors. Nevertheless, it seems that you tried to use someone else's history to criticize your own people. I am aware of our idiosyncrasies. That is why I'm taking this journey, hoping to rectify myself. Going back to the old Spain in times and with the hero figure of El Cid, the Spaniards were able to take Valencia, a key city for the complete eviction of the conquerors centuries later. In spite of the Spaniards who conquered us, you seem to be proud of them. Inca, this encounter has nothing to do with rancor to anyone, let alone the Spaniards. After all, I had some of their blood. To disdain them would be like rejecting my Inca heritage. It occurs to me, how is that they came to our land if they themselves were conquered for 700 years? That doesn't make any sense. It does, Inca. It means that we still have 2 centuries to equal their Moorish occupation, to redeem ourselves not from foreign occupying forces, but from our inability to accept our Indian heritage. Kuntursoul, tell me more about those ancient people who recovered the land and their dignity. Were they the only ones? No, Inca. There are other races and nations that have also regained their liberty without losing their identity, like India, that were led by the pertinacious Hindu Mahatma Gandhi, who according to the Western standards was his possessor presence, yet he liberated his country with the conviction of his race and without the rejection of his compatriots, which would be unthinkable in Indo-America. What does appearance have to do with being a leader? Oh, Inca, in the so-called Latin American countries, personal appearance comes at a high premium, and most mestizos and Indians would do anything to look or act like the people of the old continent to hide their ancestry. Then, if I were alive in your times, I would not be accepted as a leader because of my Indian looks. Yes, and you would be ostracized by your own descendants. Are there other nations and races that also have overcome their ugly past? Yes, the African people who were also enslaved, and millions of them brought to the New World. However, they are presently regaining their dignity and getting back their lands. I fear that this will never happen with the natives in the American continent. Your pessimism is incredible. Don't you think that someday we may also do the same? Inca discrimination among ourselves is so widespread that in countries like Mexico, the Chiapa Indians are suffering injustice perpetrated by the same people who are no different than they are, except that many of them think of themselves as Spaniards because they are mestizos. As of recent, the armed forces have killed many of their own Aztec brothers, while the entire world ignored these events. Am I a pessimist? Can you imagine that it's happened in my times? Kuntursoul, I consider Chucuito to be the end of my expedition. We have traveled to your times, and nobody speaks of our great accomplishments. How is it possible that our people favor the conquistadors' descendants who denigrate them? Can you explain me of this terrible misfortune? That is called destiny, and it's our power to change it. To do that, we need to reach to the hearts of our people who unfortunately have been hardened by the sameness of the ages. Then tell me if humanity is doing something to solve our dilemma. Yes, there are institutions who say that what has happened to the Indians is only temporary, and the humbler they are, the more likely they are to inherit a kingdom not seen by anyone, but believed by all. Meanwhile, the Indians are born to live in the shadow of their unwelcome history without any hope of improving their lot on this earth. Man of the future, how long our humiliation is going to last? Who knows, perhaps until our Inca ancestry is no longer seen in our faces, but ingrained in our chromosomes. The Inca arrived at the great gates of Cusco, where his legitimate heir, and the next line was born.